Thank you so much for joining me today, whenever and wherever you are listening to this. Mastering your intuition, your intuitive sense is so key on a soul level because what is your intuition? Your intuition is your own soul's guidance to you. We've done a podcast before on you are your best guide. What we meant by that, and even stated it in the podcast at the time, is that your soul is ultimately your best guide. And what we must realize when we are on this awakening path is that your soul already has all the answers that you want or need in this lifetime. It is your own soul that is pushing your body in the directions in which it needs to go. Now, obviously, I'm talking to all of you here listening to this podcast because you most likely are on a journey already. You are already probably aware of an intuitive sense, but many of us get lost along the way on listening to it, or sometimes a lot of people get confused on, well, I'm not getting a message right now, so I don't know what to do. Like, I made a move. Maybe you left a job and you're like, I don't know what to do next. Those those states are very, very important in this whole process. Those states of minds, those points, those pivot points that you are not aware yet of what your next move is. They are important placements for you to be very patient with yourself. And when I say yourself, I mean your soul, your intuitive sense, your pathway, because those are states in which you are acquiring energy, you are acquiring light, you are acquiring patience and mindfulness that is needed desperately as you proceed. But from an intuitive sense, when your soul is guiding you, we must realize that you will get every answer that you need when you are meant to get it. And I'm going to read something. So that's your intuitive sense. Your intuitive sense is your own soul is moving you. But the intuitive sense or your intuition also includes information downloads from your guides that come in mostly like telepathic ways. You are downloading information that you are unaware of where it's coming from. You know, at that very moment in time, you could be driving in a car and bam, you just get hit with this sudden burst of knowledge. And that's intuition. But intuition is also the gut feeling. Like, do you just know something? And you're not quite sure as to what that something is. You know something, like, for instance, you might know something's coming. Okay, but you might not know what it is. You might not know when it's coming. However, you have this feeling. Okay, that feeling is very, very important. But there's a very important distinction that we're going to get into later about emotional feelings and how that differs from your intuitive feelings. Your intuitive feelings are your gut, just inner knowing, and you don't know how you know it. That is a key distinction there in determining what is intuitive and what is emotional. And again, we're going to get into that. But I did want to read something to you guys. So I was just looking up right prior to starting the the online definition of what intuition is, and here are a couple very interesting ones I found. One is just an AI generated definition that I found online. I think it comes from the International Dictionary of English, and it says direct apprehension or cognition, immediate knowledge, as in perception or consciousness, quick or ready insight or apprehension. And then it gives an example. The mind knows by intuition that black is not white, that a circle is not a square, that three are more than two. I would actually say that's more from education and not intuition. I mean, it knows that they're different, yeah, but I don't like that. I don't like that that example. Anyway, the third definition is any object or truth discerned by intuition. I don't know how they can put the actual word intuition into the definition of intuition. That doesn't even make sense. However, what I would say there is it is an inner knowing and you're not quite sure how you know it. That is the best example of intuition that I could possibly give, like as an official definition. Now, here I read on Wikipedia, intuition is the ability to acquire knowledge without recourse to conscious reasoning or needing an explanation. Exactly what I was saying earlier. Intuition is just, it's an inner knowing. You know, but what did I say earlier that is so important here? Your soul already knows. And what is intuition? Intuition is your soul attempting to communicate with you with the help of your guides. In some instances, in many instances, it's just your soul talking to you, trying to move you in the direction that it wants to go. So, awesome. That in that definition from Wikipedia, I feel like is a very, very good one. Very, very true sense of the word and really good explanation as to what intuition is. Now, I do want to talk to here about the difference between your emotional feelings and gut feelings, because this is where people get lost. We did another podcast before on conjured energy and residual energy. It's like you walk into a location that you had maybe a negative experience at, or you read a story about this place that you just went to, like maybe it's a haunted house or something, or maybe there was a fight broke out in a location. I don't know, whatever it is, but you bring these conjured energies to it. That is different than your gut feeling. And the difference is that intuition is never, ever emotional. And to add to the definition of intuition, or to reiterate, I should say, intuition is a knowing. And that word inner, or words inner knowing, are key in differentiating between emotional and gut feelings, intuition. Anything that is conjured or residual as far as energy goes and creating feeling within you, or if you're sad over something, that's not intuition. You could know that something negative or perceived negative is going to happen, later that day. And then when it does, that inner knowing doesn't come. Like, you can sense a sadness, but it's not your sadness. It's like it's just an inner knowing of something that could be perceived as sad is going to happen. However, when it does happen and you react to it, that's the emotional aspect of it, and they are completely separate. Now, this podcast is all about mastering your intuition, but drawing these distinctions between what intuition is versus what isn't intuition are very, very important. And as we were saying earlier, if you're driving in a driving or walking wherever, you're doing whatever you are doing, and suddenly a burst of information comes in, you're getting a download, that's intuitive sense, or you have this inclination that, oh, I really want to go over here, and you walk over there, and then something, like a something falls from the, rafters or something, and you just miss it. That's like an intuitive guidance that pushes you over to that area. This is another thing that I will tell you, though, and we must, as humans, be very, very careful here, because in God's world, there are no accidents, there are no mistakes. So if something happens and you're guided to an area, you're meant to be there. And if something perceived negative happens, then that's a perception. Even though you were guided to be there and something happened to you as a result of going there, doesn't make it bad. You're actually meant to learn from that. And it's part of your process, especially, absolutely, if you were intuitively guided there. Now, here's another interesting aspect of intuition. There are times, World Trade Center, people have, on that day, people woke up and just said intuitively, I don't feel like I should go to work today, and then called off. And crazy enough, they avoided everything that happened on 9/11, or they, um, instinctively, intuitively were saying I shouldn't take a trip. And then they didn't. And something happens on the car ride, to wherever they were going. There are stories all around the world of situations like that where people were guided away from a particular situation. But the opposite is also true. And what we need to realize is that intuition is not here to quote unquote like protect you. I mean, in some instances it is, but really ultimately what it is doing is guiding you to where you're meant to be. And if you're meant to be in a situation, then you're meant to be there. And we just have to accept that. Unfortunately, from a human perspective, but from a soul's perspective, you are meant to be there. And I know that is very tough for people to understand, but it is truth in our soul's purpose, in our soul's path. It is up to us to be the ones to grow from whatever experiences we are meant to experience, because there is a reason why you are there. There is a reason why you weren't there. There is a reason why you are having these experiences. The But as we're talking about it, you must differentiate between emotional feelings and intuitive feelings, and do not mix them up. Anything that is confusion comes from ego mind, because the soul, as we have indicated already, is an inner knowing. And what did we start out by saying? The soul knows all of your answers. Everything you want to know, the soul already knows. But you have to tap into that. You have to get very, very intimate with your intuition to really begin to understand and master it. And that only happens through a couple of different ways. One, but before we get in there, I do want to tell you this. Your intuition, it it lies between your solar plexus and your heart. It's within that region of the body. So there are times you're just going to have, and that's why we call it a gut feeling, because it is right there by your gut, right above your belly. But there is something that I call the information superhighway, and that is your third eye incorporates your chakras from your third eye down to your solar plexus. So your third eye, your throat, your heart, and your solar plexus make up your intuitive senses information superhighway. This highway is so important to developing and mastering your own intuition. If you begin to work with these chakras, you begin to balance them, open them, energize them, cleanse them, you can begin to develop a really, really strong and master your intuition. But again, we must reiterate, information will only be presented to you or given to you when it is time to be received. You are not in a state that mandates when you are ready, because it is your soul that is the one that needs to grow. And there are times when you're going to be in a placement of not knowing, that is very important that is very important to your development, and you're not going to know what to do. That's okay. You have to find a piece there. Now, continue to work. Yes, continue to attempt to move in a direction in which you want to move or you think you should move, but understand that intuitively that might change. Okay? So, understand what I'm saying there. Maybe you feel like you're in a dead end job and you're not, you feel like you need to get away. And maybe you do, you quit without even having another job ready. And you're on the sideline now and you're looking in, you're like, I don't know what I should do. Okay. But you're in a situation where you need to make money. Okay. But you're still confused. You don't know what you should do. Okay. Go get a job, go get something just to hold you over. And then when the time is ready, you will get your answer and then you move in there. However, that first step of trust is very, very important because you are now trusting your intuition. You are beginning to master it. And when we move with our intuition, trust me here, when you move with your intuition, you will always be taken care of. Again, what does being taken care of mean though? That's going to have different implications, different situations for different people. Your own pathway is yours and yours alone. So you cannot say that, okay, if I make this move, everything's going to be positive, everything's going to be light, everything's going to go much smoother for me. That is not necessarily the case. You're always going to have situations that require your growth. You're always going to have situations that require patience and peace. But if you trust in your intuitive sense, you will get there. It's just a matter of time before you get your answer and certainty on where you need to go. Just like I said, you go into a place and you might get hurt there. However, that's part of the process and that's okay. You accept it, you grow from it, you move on because what you don't know is what is coming after that. And the peace that you might be bringing or the love and the light that you might be bringing to others as a result of what happened to yourself. Very, very, very important, my friends. And I've done this. I know I've told you guys that about 5 years ago, I was working in IT for close to 20 years and ended up quitting without even having another job. I was the primary breadwinner. I had a house with my in-laws and a sister-in-law that all lived with me at one time, and I was the primary breadwinner. And them upstairs intuitively, I knew that I was going to leave this job in the coming months. It started in October. I started to get this feeling, and they kept telling me, "You're going to leave. You're going to leave." And then in January, I did leave, and I had nothing to back me up. My parents were furious at me. How can you do this to your family? And I'm like, no, God is telling me to go, and I feel that I need to go. And I had nothing, but I trust it. I jumped into that water completely vulnerable. But that's when God shows himself. That's when your intuitive sense, that's when you express your true um or not express, but that's when, well, yeah, it is an expression of true trust in the energetic world, in God, in the light, in the love. And it is such a profound moment when you can step into that, to that vulnerability and truly just let your hands go and just say, it's in your hands. I follow you. It is such a powerful, powerful time. Now, again, that pathway has been like every other pathway. It's filled with waves up and down. However, you are now beginning to trust your intuitive sense. And that information superhighway is a great place to start opening up those chakras, cleansing them, balancing them, activating them. It's a great way to start getting your intuitive senses primed by working on those four chakras. That's your information superhighway. Now, mastering it is a process that is continuous. You are always trying to basically become the observer. And this right here is how you master your intuitive sense. You become the observer. Okay, how do we do that? What does that look like? No longer, when you're mastering your intuition, no longer do emotions drive your behavior. You now step back from yourself, basically, from the soul's perspective, okay? And you're looking at yourself in a third person point of view from your soul level. You're going, okay, you can see your physical body in front of you. You're now looking at yourself from your soul's perspective. You see your physical body right in front of you. You're taking the observer perspective. Okay, how is he moving? What is he doing? What are the things that he's doing that we need to begin to shift to be more high vibrational and to be more in tune with his intuition? That's where meditation and mindfulness are absolutely key. We did the meditation podcast. It was number 82. And in that, we discussed how meditation teaches you awareness. And that is what mastering your intuition is all about. You must begin to notice and differentiate between gut, inner knowing versus emotional states and emotions that are trying to drive you, because emotion no longer drives us. We do not move with emotion. And trust me, this is, as we said, continuous. You're going to be working on this the rest of your life, but you're going to be able to trust and you're going to be able to venture with an inner knowing that everything is going to be okay because you are moving with your intuition. You are moving with your soul's purpose. When you move with your intuition, you are moving with your soul's purpose. It is what is guiding you. Your soul knows where it needs to go. It has all the information and it is nudging you that way. Now we are learning how to master that. And we master it through meditation, through mindfulness. And the more that you practice these two techniques, the better you will become at becoming the observer of your emotions and your intuition, distinguishing the two and moving with the intuition. So, so important. Becoming the observer is everything. You will notice as you begin to meditate on a more regular basis and for a good period of time, like 15, 30 minutes, an hour, great amounts of time. We talked about before sacrifice. We need sacrifice. You will eventually, at some point in time, you're going to have to sacrifice time, sacrifice money, something. You're going to have to give something up to begin to really fulfill your purpose, your journey. You're going to have to, even people, you will have to sacrifice people. If you're going to be If you want to be high vibrational and you're around people that are low vibrational, that just doesn't work. It's it's too heavy on us. And especially if you have people that are doubting what you're doing and you're around them and they're constantly chattering in your ear about how silly your growth is or why are you doing whatever you're doing in your spiritual sense, that is not easy to be around. And I encourage you not to be. Now, you have to do you. It's something that you have to feel because you're following your intuition. Your intuition could tell you, I want to be around this people, and you can handle the energy that they're giving off. And that's cool. Awesome. That's your purpose. That's your path. Beautiful. Go with it. Be you, my friend. And that's the beauty of the intuitive sense and your own personal pathway. They're all different. And some people feel very strongly in, hey, I'm supposed to be here with this person. That is awesome. I have that. I'm here, there, now. I'm currently living that exact same situation, and it's beautiful. I love it. So, however, you must begin to meditate on a regular basis because it gives you that awareness. It provides you with, and what does the awareness do? The awareness of your mind's subtle shifts, your feeling, your intuitive senses, subtle shifts. A, when you get intuitive guidance, one, it is repetitive. Intuitive guidance is something that doesn't go away. Emotions go away. They heal. They emotions might be in the moment, but they don't necessarily reoccur all the time. Some do, some don't. That's okay. Some take a little while to go away. All good. But an emotional response, inner knowingly, the difference between intuitive sense and emotional responses. And when you become the observer, you master it. When you can step back from it and truly, because that's the thing. Intuition is the inner knowing. That knowing part of it is everything. It's not something that's confusing. If you come to me, and people do all the time, as a medium, they'll come to me and say, Chris, I'm confused. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Immediately, okay, you're coming you're coming to me from ego's perspective. Get out of there. Step back from that confusion. If you don't know what you're meant to do, then you're in a placement of patience. You're in a placement of growth. Your soul is attempting to acquire more light to get you to a placement, and then it'll move you to where you need to be. Or in addition to light, it could also be, hey, there are a series of other events that are going to take place and before you do your thing. So you must wait here and then you're going to make your move. Um, I had some lady come to me before and she wanted to take a job that was cross the country. Actually, she didn't want to take it. Um, I'm sorry. She didn't know if she should take it. My apologies. So she comes to me, she has a session, we're talking. And I actually walk her through a little meditation on, hey, on getting her to be more in tune with her intuition. And we go through this little meditation, and I ask her, in that state, should you take this? And it comes up, no. And so immediately I say to her, then you don't need me. Your guide, your own soul just instructed you on the pathway forward. You either trust it or you don't. Well, she didn't trust it and she moved. She came back to me a year later and she was telling me what a mistake that was, how she didn't trust it. And the information was equal on my part. Like the information that I was channeling through, we're saying the same thing. Do not go. Something else is coming. But she didn't. She moved and it didn't work out. A year later, she was coming to me saying, this is not good. This is really not good, actually. And I need to get out of here as soon as possible. She wasn't in danger or anything like that, but the energy was very, very dark. It was not good. Not a good situation at all. So again, we walk her through the intuitive sense because she was saying, I don't know if I should go. I don't want to be here. And I'm like, there's no question here. You know this. You know it's not doing you well. You know you want to leave. You know you have to leave. There is no question. But that's where we get so confused. That's where we need to step back. Okay, what is emotion? What is intuitive sense? Intuition is something you know. It is not something that you are guessing at. You know something is coming. You know you need to get away. You know that this person is good. You know that love and God are real. You know that you should be the messenger that you're intended to be. You know this, but something is holding you back from actually moving with it. Sometimes it's a doubt thing or a trust thing or a fear thing. However, meditation and mindfulness will help you begin to step back from those and help distinguish what is the difference here. Is this an emotion or is this an inner knowing? And when you don't know what you should do next, again, stay in that state. Continue to move and do things to help your present moment, but understand with great peace that the information that you need and seek is coming to you. Just be ready when it does come to go. And that these states right here that I'm talking about are hurting so many of you out there, where you get in this state of confusion and that starts to, like a ball rolling down a hill, just snowballs out of control because we hold on to that emotional state. We don't let it go. We need to let that ball go. Let it roll away. You are not part of that emotion. That emotion is not you. You must separate, and you separate through meditation and mindfulness. But that separation allows you to begin to follow and trust more of your intuitive sense that is coming to you. Very, very important when you are trying to master your intuition. You must become the observer. You become the observer through meditation and mindfulness. So powerful. You open up so many different doorways once you begin to really understand what is intuition, and then mastering it. Okay, part of mastering it is moving with it. That is the next step. And so obviously, if you feel like you should move out of this one corner of the room into the next and you don't do it, that's and then something falls on you, like that is it's okay. So you're resistant to the, if you don't move, okay, then you hurt your head. You stay in that corner. You didn't move when you felt like, oh, I have this feeling I should go over there, but I'm just going to stay here anyway. And then something falls on your head and you're like, damn, I should have really moved, should I? Yo, trust me, that happens. It happens. The crazy thing is, your intuition is interacting with you so much and on so many different levels in so many different facets of life, because again, it is your own soul and it is attempting to help you in every way. When you begin to master it and be aware of these inner feelings and you don't move with them, you're not doing yourself a service. You're doing yourself an injustice, actually, and you're not fulfilling your purpose. Now, obviously, that one moment, maybe a box fell on your head. That could have been that could be life altering, but it could just be in that moment too. You just get a lump on your head. However, what you're missing there is the understanding that crap, my soul was literally just trying to get me out of the way, and I didn't trust myself. If I would have moved with it and trusted it, but that's where the awareness comes in, because the awareness would tell you immediately, oh, this is guidance and I should go because I feel it. I know I'm supposed to move, but I didn't. If you are going to master your intuition, you must move in tremendous trust. Absolute, explicit, implicit trust. 100%. You you do not master intuition if you are going to ignore it, because you're not actually mastering it. You are aware of it, you know what it's telling you, but if you're not going to go with it, then you're not moving with your soul. And that just doesn't even make sense. And again, this could put you in some seriously, quote unquote, vulnerable feelings, or what could be vulnerable like situations, or what you think could be vulnerable situations. But now you're starting to move in a placement with trust in God, trust in your purpose, trust in where you're intended to go. And there is just no questioning. I'm telling you from example after experience after experience after experience of trusting your intuition and moving with it. And this is what I'll tell you. Mastering intuition is literally the most important thing that you can do in a lifetime. And I'll tell you why. Because okay, there are times when I get messages from above that say, "Hey, Chris, you should do this or you should do that." And I'll tell you right now, if I only get something from above telling me to do something, but I don't feel it intuitively, I do not do it. There has to be 100% alignment for me to move. I If I feel it, I will do it. Absolutely. And I don't need them to tell me yes or no. If I feel it, I'm going. But if they tell me and I don't feel it, I back off. I will not do it because that's not your intuition. That's not your intuitive sense. That's not your own soul. That's God and others maybe trying to, um, tell you something, trying to get you to go in a location, maybe to help you. Yeah, I mean, obviously to help you. However, your intuition is so important. If you're not going to trust it and you move not in accordance with it, you could be, it could be, I don't even know how to explain it, but it's just something that I will not do. Absolutely will not do it. And to be honest with you, I don't even care who tells me to do something. If somebody other than my own soul inside of myself is telling me to do something and I don't feel it, I'm not going, I'm not doing it. And there's just nothing else to say about that. That is how truly powerful and truly guiding your own soul is. Your soul knows you. It knows where you need to go. You have got to trust and you got to make the leaps. Because trust me, when you begin to master your intuition, you will be put in situations where you feel completely vulnerable. We did the podcast already uh, several months ago, maybe even a year, on vulnerability. Vulnerability. Now, the premise of that one was vulnerability was needed to heal. Vulnerability is needed to grow, period. But healing is part of the intuitive process because we're all healing from something. Every one of us on this planet are healing some aspects of ourself, some aspects of maybe our lineage, some aspects of our past lives. We're all healing something. So, and vulnerability is absolutely needed for that. So, when you're trusting your intuitive sense and you're moving with it, you are going to find yourself in very compromising, or I should say, vulnerable spots. But when you move in accordance with the trust of your soul, of your intuition, of that inner knowing, you go with complete faith. And I tell you, it is a beautiful place to be because you don't question life anymore. When you're moving with your intuition, you know you're in the right spot. And I'll give you, for instance, right? Right now, I'm a teacher and I teach kids with special needs. And I will tell you right now, it is the toughest job I have ever had in my life. And I've had many. It is the toughest, but it's the most rewarding. And I love it. I love it. I love the kids. I love the job. It's tough for sure, but it's beautiful. It's so rewarding. And the crazy thing is, there are times when I'm like, man, like it's tough to get up and out of bed because you're like, it's really tough. But then you realize I love it and I know where I'm meant to be. It's not a question for me when I get up. It's not a question of, man, am I doing what I'm intended to do? No, it's a man, I need to get in there and you know, fulfill my purpose, which is what I'm doing. I know I'm meant to be here because I feel it. And that is everything. You can go When you begin to follow your intuition, you know you're in the right spot. And you know when you're no longer in the right spot, you know it, you feel it, you move. Where's the next what is the next position that I need to be? What is the next place I need to be in this life? And it's a beautiful place to be. So many of us wake up every day and we're like, oh, I dislike my job. I know there's something else I need to do. And we don't know. We don't move. We know it that we're supposed to do something else. We don't know what it is, and that's what holds us back. That not knowing. The thing is, we need to embrace that not knowing. That's where the vulnerability comes in. You need to be in a place of trust, knowing that the answers are going to come when they're meant to come. Not necessarily having all the answers beforehand. That's where the trust comes in. And it's not easy. I know this. I've done it multiple times. I could tell you some stories. I've already told you about the job one. That's the biggest one. One of the biggest ones, actually. I have several others. Oh, I'll tell you another one. Miracle. It was the one when I was guided in Montana. Took a cross country trip to Montana, Wyoming. I was towing a car behind this camper, and I kept losing the cables off the car. So the car could literally fall off this tow dolly. There was nothing holding this car onto this tow dolly. And it happened several times on our way out there. To the point that when we got to Montana, I told my wife, I said, we have got to get rid of this car. I have to get this thing to um shipped back to Pennsylvania, because we're going to cause an accident. We've lost these cables. Like, literally, there was nothing holding this car. I know I've done a podcast. I know I told you the story, but this is how much you trust your intuitive sense. Now, here I was going off emotion. I was going off of, holy moly, like, I wasn't stepped back. I wasn't the observer. I was just going off of, like, logical third dimensional thinking. Like, this thing is eventually going to fall off and cause an accident. That's when my intuition did kick in, but I listened and I did a meditation. They told me, Chris, everything's going to be okay. Now, the important thing here is, when I did the channel, they came in and they said, Chris, you don't have to ship the car back. You're good. You can just go along and the car will be fine. You will have no issues. The important part of this whole thing is exactly what I told you earlier. I felt it. Therefore, I went with it. And I can feel a flutter in my heart right now. I went with that. I went with that feeling. If I didn't feel that, I would not have done it. I would have sent it home. I would have had it towed, trailered back to Pennsylvania. But I didn't. And I kept it. And no kidding, we went to multiple different campsites. And the second one we went to, I get there and the cables are off the car. They're not even on the car. There is nothing holding this car onto this tow dolly. The tow dolly's like this, and it has two bars that go across like this, and they're flat, you know. So the car sits on it like this, and there's no indent in here. It's just two bars. That's it. That car, if there's nothing holding on, it just falls off because the car's in neutral. It just it's it there's it just falls. And when I first bought the tow dolly, I tested it because I didn't know how to use them, so I tested it. And when I tested it, that very thing happened. The cable came off, and it fell. The car fell in the middle of the road, but it was a test, and I did it in a safe way, so we were good. But in this situation, they told me it's going to be okay, and I felt it. I felt that okay. And no kidding, I trusted it. We get to the second campsite, and that car was not held on to that tow dolly at all. And it was still there. And I told my wife, okay, they're telling me it's going to be all right. We're going to go. And that happened several more times. We're now on our way back home. This was a 2 week trip. We're now on our way back home. I'm driving down the highway and I see sparks coming off the back of the car. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what is happening? I pull over, I go to the back, same thing. Nothing holding that car on. That car should have been off on the road somewhere and it was on. It was like glued onto this tow dolly, but there was no glue there, Miracle, a miracle. But that's what happens when you trust your intuition. Miracles happen. You allow God to come in and truly place you and your own soul, place you on your pathway, and the heavens start opening up. Things start to happen for you. Things just fall into place. It is when we doubt, it is when we question that life just feels more difficult. It just doesn't feel right. That inner feeling, that inner knowing, though, that you're feeling there where something's not right, I should be doing something else, are key. And you must move with them. If that's not what you're supposed to do, move. If it's an inner knowing and it is repetitive, it's continual, you just keep feeling, I know I need to do something else. You cannot wait until you get the answer of what that next thing is. You must go and allow the answer to come to you, because you might have a step between the next step that you take. So you feel like you're not supposed to be at this job, right? And but you don't know what the next thing is. Most people will just stay there until they think they know. When in reality, that's not the process. The process is when you feel like you should go, go. But what we must understand is there might be a next step that you have to take before you get to the one that you're supposed to be at. The thing is, that's where you just have to like be in a state of, okay, let me just try some stuff here. Subject yourself to new things that you might want to do while your soul is acquiring that light, acquiring that knowledge. You just made that jump. That's huge. Okay, now your soul needs a little time to adjust so that it knows, all right, now this is how we're going to work with you. And then you go. It's amazing. It's beautiful. All right, enough of me talking. Please forgive me. I am going to channel today, and I am grateful. Thank you, my children of this realm. We are grateful for all that you bring to this realm, for the services that you offer to so many. Many of you listening to this podcast now are of the light, of our higher intuitive sense already. And we do ask you to please be of service to your intuition. It is an aspect of service that you bring to it, and likewise in the opposite direction. Your soul is attempting to move the inhabitants of this body. It is attempting to fill it with light, even more so to release the density that currently occupies many of your ego minds and energetic vibration. It is the intuitive sense that is attempting to dispel the heaviness, the density that currently lies within the human body, to fulfill its light, to allow for more density to be expelled, and to allow for more light and love to be entered into the body. It is this energy vibration that allows for more intuition to be felt and the trust to be developed. Christopher is right in the form of trusting your intuition enough to move when it feels uncomfortable. This is okay, but is absolutely imperative. The intuitive sense is, as described, extremely important, and your own soul attempting to move the physical body. but it does so with light. And you will aid in the development of mastering your intuitive sense by allowing more love and light into your body and acting in accordance with this light and love. We tell you now, we are grateful for this. Bring in more light and love, act in accordance with this light and love, and allow for your own soul to grow in its power, in its gentle nudges, in its intuition, intuitive sense that is attempting to move. Christopher is also correct in the knowing that the intuition is the soul, but it is the soul that is ultimately guiding the human body most often. Your guides and the heavenly realm are always close by, attempting to help, and they do with great admiration when called upon. However, it is within your own intuition and soul that the movement primarily takes place. Guides assist, yes, but the soul is doing most of the work, the heavy lifting, if you will. We ask you to find peace in this knowledge and understanding that it is mastering the intuition that is so vitally important to being on your pathway. We do ask you now also, though, to balance these energies. As we have indicated, love and light are what are needed to amplify the intuition's energetic nudges. This can be done currently in your current state when you act in accordance with that love and light, and we are grateful for this. We ask you all now to go in great peace and to acquire more light and love into your physical body and souls so that the gentle nudges can be amplified and the trust can be experienced. We do ask you to trust implicitly, explicitly, and do become the observer as instructed. These are great accounts of how to develop stronger intuitive senses, in a sense, mastering. But we do tell you, mastery comes with time, my children, my friends. And be patient with yourself as you maneuver this realm and acquire the amount of light that is needed to trust implicitly, explicitly. We are so grateful for all that you have brought to this realm, and we ask you to continue to be of the light, without judgment, without expectations, but be of the light always, and find great peace in what and who you are. You are all beautiful souls walking this earth, this realm, attempting difficultly, we tell you at times, to find out who you are in God's eyes. But we tell you now, you are all his children of light, children of love, and he is with us all, always. We must know this and act in accordance with this knowledge to allow for ourselves to acquire more light and walk with more upright shoulders, to walk with more, if you will, bravado. Bravado, not in they're looking for a word like ego bravado, not that kind of bravado. This is correct. We tell you to walk with bravado in knowing that you are always with God, not in fear, but in complete comfort and confidence, knowing that God is with you and all, always. There is never a moment that you are without God. And we ask you now to realize this, that you are one with God always and forever. And it is something that you must always know and understand. For it is this knowledge that also aids in the development of your own intuitive sense. Knowing, and we do use the word knowing intentionally, knowing that God is with you always, you can increase the trust in your own intuitive sense. And we are grateful for this. Go in tremendous peace, my children, always. We love you very much, and heaven is real. You are also real, obviously, as you know, but we are too here, present with you, working with your energies regularly, especially when called upon. But we do leverage others' lights who are amplified, as you all are. and we are grateful. Go in peace always. We love you and are grateful. Enoch speaking. Thank you, Enoch. All right, my friends. Thank you all for joining me today. I look forward to seeing you again. I will tell you that I do have or am in the process of lining up an interview with someone that had a near death experience. And I am very excited to get that done. I hope to have it done shortly here. So thank you all. And I look forward to our next time. Appreciate you. Love you. Bye.